Hi, this is Julia Thompson,
And I'm Amanda Oppegard.
and we will be presenting on our final short-term econ project. All right, so our research question. We are hoping to answer, how does the number of years with the current employer impact the hourly wage? In order to do this, we will be examining the Woldridge data set titled Wage One, detailing the yearly income levels, how long people have been with each employer, and how much their salary increases or decreases within the span of time that they are in that one firm. We will control for overall experience in the industry and then compare two different types of people. One person who stays at one job for the entirety of the career, and then one person who switches around from job to job throughout their career. We're expecting to find that the longer an employee is with a company, the greater their wage will increase. So in economic terms, we expect the stayers to have greater wages than the switchers. We're expecting to see a positive correlation between tenure and wage. And we'll be controlling for experience because we want to compare employers with the same amount of experience, since in general, someone with more experience tends to get paid more than those with less experience because knowledge is valuable.
So, our initial hypothesis is that individuals who have longer tenure with their current employer will have a higher hourly wage compared to those who switch jobs frequently. This premise comes from my thought that longer tenure may lead to increased accumulation of job specific skills, which could mean higher wages. Additionally, staying with one employer could lead to steady wage progression, loyalty bonuses, or promotions that are not part of switching jobs. However, the labor market often rewards varied experience and the acquisition of a broader skill set, which could counterbalance or even outweigh the benefits of long-term tenure with a single firm.
All right, here you have pictured our two. Oh no, they're not showing up. There we go. Okay, great. Our regression models that we did in R, we used wage as the dependent variable with tenure and total work experience as the independent variables. This allows for an estimation of how much wages are expected to change with each additional year of tenure after holding constant the amount of overall work experience. The results of the regression analysis reveal a positive relationship between tenure and hourly wage for those who stayed with the same employer. You can see this over on the left-hand side under estimation. The intercept is 5.48962, and then with tenure, there's an increase to 0.28. And the t-value is over 2, which means it's statistically significant. And that is for the stayers. And then when we look at the switchers, there is still an increase, but is slightly less, and it is still statistically significant.
So each additional year of tenure is associated with an increase in hourly wage. So this suggests that longer tenure does indeed correlate with higher wages. And both estimates are statistically significant, just like Julia said. So for the switchers, the effective tenure on wage is also positive, but less pronounced, which shows that job hopping might not penalize the worker in terms of hourly wage, but also does not reward them as much as staying put at their same firm or job. So these results do not necessarily imply causation. The regression can control for observed confounders like total work experience. There could be unobserved factors influencing both tenure and wage, such as worker motivation, that are not accounted for in the model. So this means that we cannot definitively state that longer tenure causes higher wages, and we can only assert that there is an association between the two of them. In an ideal scenario, if we could run an experiment, we would randomly assign employees to stay with their current employer or to switch jobs at certain intervals and then observe the resultant changes in their wage. This would be like a randomized control trial, like we talked about in class. So this experimental design would allow us to make stronger causal inferences about the impact of tenure on wages, since they would control for both observed and unobserved confounding variables. So this kind of experiment, I feel like, would be pretty impractical and unethical in a real world setting. So econometricians rely on statistical models like the regression analysis conducted here to approximate causal relationships as closely as possible given the available data. So it is unethical to force people to stay at a job where they may be unhappy or need to move with their family. But in the same manner, it is unethical to force people to switch jobs if they really love where they work, who they work with, and the impact that they may have on those around them. So this type of RCT would take away a person's personal freedom of the right to make decisions about their own life trajectory.
All right, so finally, we will be reassessing the original hypothesis. In conclusion, we think that our original hypothesis is technically correct since we did observe a positive relationship between tenure and wage. But as Amanda mentioned before, we don't know if this is a case of causation, so that's just not super definitive. Also, something that I found interesting is that in both regressions, the estimation for experience is negative, but neither are statistically significant. So, what does this mean? The relationship between wage and experience could be due to chance. So that's also kind of up in the air. Some policy implications that you could conclude from our analysis is that when firms internally promote their employees, the employees will benefit from staying at one firm in the long run. Amanda talked about this with the idea of wage progression and promotions and gaining experience through trained expertise in one field. Companies that do not encourage internal growth will most likely have employees for shorter periods of time because they don't foresee themselves being able to improve or financially advance within their career. The way in which a company sets up its payment scale and ability to grow within the company will definitely impact the employee loyalty. Overall, we could definitely use more research on the effects of tenure on wage, including more controls of greater variety to target what really is changing wages for people in the US throughout their time in their careers. So basically, just as Amanda was saying, an RCT would be the best way to really see how tenure is affecting wage and really be able to compare people with as many similarities as possible. All right. That is all we have for you today. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.